Heffel's Fall 2022 live auction is filled with an impressive selection of artworks. Here are a few highlights that stood out to our specialists.
Canadian Impressionism, as it's largely understood, is thought to be about landscape, but an important counterpoint to that is portraiture, especially the portraiture of Frederick Varley. And in Nude on Couch, we have an extraordinary example. Varley was singular as a colorist, and you see that here in the very nuanced palette of the sheets and the flesh tones of the figure. But in those two elements, you also see Varley's gesture as a painter, with the very textured nature of the fabric contrasted against the calmer, more fluid qualities of her skin. This work hung in multiple public exhibitions based around the collection of Charles S. Band, which was one of the most important collections of Canadian art ever built. Varley portraiture at its best has the psychological sensitivity of John Singer Sargent and the sensuality of Gustav Klimt. But the very best examples like this one also convey an emotional intensity that's overwhelming.
Here in Paris, viewed from a studio window, we are instantly transported to the Quai des Grands Augustins on the left bank of the Seine, where Maurice lived in apartment number 45 from the fall of 1899 through to the summer of 1917. He would paint this view in different seasons, on and off, over the course of these 20 years. If ever there was a classic subject for Maurice, this is it. The spectacular view beneath Maurice's studio is arguably one of the most famous views in all of Paris. Beneath were these bookstalls where we have two immense poplar trees, with the river busy with barges and flanked by ancient high buildings. The National Gallery of Canada and the Musée d'Orsay both have similar versions in their collection, so this work is in excellent company. To discover a canvas that was last exhibited in public just shy of 100 years ago is remarkable. Views of Paris from the latter part of the artist's career are extremely rare. This painting is a major addition to the important body of Maurice's paintings, and it may possibly be the final canvas he painted of this most beloved and cherished view.
Heffel is extremely honored and excited to bring to market this fall a very special Lauren Harris canvas. It is situated behind me, and it's one of my favorite Harris paintings. At the time, the artist is moving beyond the horrors of the First World War, entering into the roaring 20s, going beyond the past into the future times, but well prepared as the lady is who's making her way ahead of herself in the snowdrifts. Harris has filled this canvas full of optimism. The power and the brightness of nature is the dominant force in this work, and it's full of warmth and looking towards a bright future. This work also for me has that special moment in the morning after a storm and a winter snow blizzard has cleared and the bright warm sun has poked through, and you can feel the rays of light heating up the hoarfrost on the trees and adding a magical sparkle to the snow, and it's a true masterpiece.
The reason I like David Milne so much is that he's just such a singular artist in art history, let alone Canadian art history. He's just got such a genuine and unique voice that sets him apart. This year it's really quite interesting. There's two works in particular that really caught my eye. The first work that I've been thinking about is called Little Reflections, Darts Lake, Adirondack Park. It's a great little watercolor where he uses the blank of the page, the white of the paper. He captures that moment where the wind just kind of erases on the water the reflection that you would otherwise see, and he just leaves the paper blank, and it's just so efficient and effective. So much of what David Milne does, and sort of his achievement over the breadth of his oeuvre, is that he's so consistent in his use of white and especially space between the brushstrokes. Another one of the David Milnes that we have in this sale it's very bright and colorful, so quite a contrast to the Little Reflections, and it's called Gay Fabric. Gay Fabric is the title probably because the Well, the subject is David Milne's wife sitting on a bed, and there's a wonderful pattern in the fabric that she's sitting on. But I like to think that the artist was thinking more of the overall fabric of the painting, because everything becomes one sort of space and atmosphere. And again, it's the white of the page that brings the light into the room.
We are honored to have featured on the cover of our Canadian Impressionist and Modern Art catalog, Thomson's Mocks and Flower, painted in the spring of 1916 at Algonquin Park. One of Canada's most famous and important art dealers for many years was Blair Lang. And it was in fact Blair Lang's father, Archie, who bought this painting directly from the estate of the artist in 1941. And Mr. Lang gave this painting to his wife as a gift. Subsequently, Blair Lang hung the painting for many years in his private residence in his personal home. And then in 1991, the painting went to his daughter, Andrea. And now the work comes to Heffel from a private collection. It's just a great honor to have this work in our sale, and I really love this painting. Thomson was at the height of his powers by 1916, 1917. And unfortunately, with Thomson's untimely death in 1917, his works are very sought after and very rare to the market. There's speculation that the painting was painted under moonlight. And actually, it's one thing that really sets the dramatic aspect of this painting is the background. It really brings out the color of the flowers having the dramatic background. And I really love the pink moxon flower and the white orchids and the green boreal forest and the yellow wildflowers. And everything is set in this dramatic state. This painting is so important. We had two contributors to the catalog essay. One was written by Joan Murray, the other by Ross King, two famous authors on art and Canadian art. Joan Murray says it most succinctly when she says, "Mocks and Flowers is an icon of Canadian art, a national treasure."
So I wanted to talk a bit about Rough River, a work by contemporary American artist Sherry Hughes. He paints through a very intuitive process to create very evocative, abstracted landscapes. She starts with a blank canvas without a clear idea of what the painting will look like, letting the form emerge naturally through the act of creating it. The color palette and the shapes are all unplanned, and she allows her unconscious to sort of dictate what the painting will end up looking like, resulting in surprising contrasts of gesture and color. So it's a synthesis of abstract expressionist mark-making and surrealist automatism, creating these very hypnotic, ambiguous spaces that are still immediately legible as landscapes, but are vibrating with this underlying playful energy. So the paint's all been applied in big sweeping waves and hills, pointless dots and slashes, and soft stains of color, all of which seem to radiate from this very rich green sun in the center of the canvas. Color, gesture, and material all combine to create this very atmospheric dreamscape where the form is sort of created from the process, which I think makes for a very interesting painting.
Une des œuvres de la vente de cet automne qui m'a particulièrement marqué est cette œuvre impressionnante de Marcel Ferron, sans titre, exécutée en 1962. Selon moi, cette œuvre, peinte lorsque l'artiste travaillait et résidait à Paris, est un vrai manifeste de cette liberté créatrice qui a animé l'artiste toute sa vie. Cette œuvre démontre une totale maîtrise d'une technique basée sur une utilisation radicale et expressive des couleurs, et où la confiance de l'artiste en son geste transparaît dans chaque forme et dans chaque tracé. La sensation de mouvement et de vertige que je ressens lorsque je regarde cette œuvre, particulièrement due aux collisions des formes et de ces couleurs vives, est particulièrement renforcée par la taille de cette œuvre, qui rend la composition encore plus majestueuse et qui génère en moi une sensation d'envoûtement assez unique, et je prends beaucoup de plaisir à m'abandonner et à m'évader en regardant cette œuvre. Donc c'est une œuvre d'une artiste aboutie et qui démontre l'aboutissement des techniques que Marcel Ferron a développées tout au long de sa période parisienne et qui représente un point culminant dans la carrière de cette brillante artiste.
After showing at the National Gallery in 1927, Emily Carr was at a crossroads with which direction she should take her painting. Inspired by the work of Lauren Harris and their discussions of mysticism, God, and nature, she set off into the forests of Vancouver Island to try to express the spirit of British Columbia. This marked the beginning of her mature period, where she discovered her own painterly language in synthesizing her religious experiences with the many moods and phases of the British Columbia landscape. Storm Over Grey Forest is based on the charcoal sketch in the Vancouver Art Gallery collection, and I'm drawn to this painting because it's one of the few examples where Carr tries to really articulate just how wet the rainforest is. Here the sky is full of rain, lying low over the earth, heavy and dense, in the atmosphere brought to life by Carr's sweeping brushstrokes. Looming in the sky is a supernatural eye-like form, expressing the fear and mystery of the forest. This echoes her Gothic tree forms of the period, where she's formalizing the suggestion of a unifying singular power. In this canvas, she's illuminating the mystical and the magical, and approaching her ultimate goal of trying to communicate the nearness of God.
Heffel is proud to offer this fantastic painting by Jean-Paul Lemieux. It is reappearing on the Canadian art market after more than 40 years. This painting's title translates to Night of the Kings and is one of the largest paintings that the artist created in 1973. The scale of this work is important because it magnifies the theme of the painting that the artist is trying to convey, that of human loneliness and solitude. Lemieux explored this theme throughout his career, often placing a figure at the edge of the canvas as he does in this work. The effect of this is twofold. Firstly, it gives the sense that the figure could walk off the canvas at any moment, leaving behind a vast and empty landscape. Secondly, it underscores the enormity of the universe in comparison to the human existence. In addition to the themes of the work, the painting is visually stunning. I personally love how the red coat pops against the stark white snow, while the contrast of the black night sky emphasizes the freezing temperatures. Jean-Paul Lemieux is a master at creating impact through subtlety and seeming simplicity, and this magnificent painting makes it easy to see why.
Jack Bush is probably best known for his abstract color field canvases from the 1950s through to the 1970s. So naturally we're so excited to be offering 3 canvases in this fall sale. From Blue Red number 4, originally named Moon Approach, which is quite timely to be offering right now with the current race to space, to the fantastic Orange Totem and Summer Lake, which it likely represents a longing for the time he spent with his family over the summers in the 40s and 50s. The honor that comes with the stewardship of being a temporary custodian of a collection, or even just that one special piece, is truly something to be proud of.
Quand j'ai vu Evening Glow Laurentians de Clarence Gagnon pour la première fois, je me suis immédiatement imaginée à la campagne, dans les Laurentides, après une journée très ensoleillée où on ressent à la fois la chaleur du soleil sur la neige, sur notre visage, et aussi l'air froid, jusque dans nos poumons. Et quiconque a connu l'hiver sait exactement de quoi je parle. Et je trouve ça vraiment remarquable de comment, avec seulement quelques pigments appliqués sur une surface plane, d'être capable d'évoquer une sensation aussi spécifique que celle-là, et Gagnon réussit de main de maître à faire ça. D'abord, le soleil couchant est seulement évoqué ici, il n'est pas représenté tel quel. On le devine grâce aux reflets sur la neige, à la teinte du ciel. Et ensuite, Gagnon choisit ici de ne pas peindre la neige d'un blanc pur. Alors, un peu, ça se rapproche plus de la façon que nous, on perçoit la neige. La neige ici, elle est bleue, elle est rose, elle est lilas, elle est beige. Et il y a des variations infinies de teintes entre ces couleurs-là. Et enfin, ce qui est le plus remarquable, selon moi, et l'historienne de l'art Michel Grandvois l'explique bien dans son texte qui accompagne l'œuvre, c'est que Clarence Gagnon ne peignait pas ses scènes hivernales in situ. Entre 1908 et 1913, lors de ses visites au Québec, il a peint plusieurs pochades, il a fait des esquisses, il a pris des photos qu'il a ensuite utilisées comme modèle pour faire ses moyens et grands formats qu'il a complétés dans son studio à Paris. C'est donc de l'autre côté de l'Atlantique, loin de son pays natal, que Clarence réussit à peindre avec grande justesse, pas seulement l'hiver, mais la sensation de l'hiver.
Andy Warhol is a household name, of course, but really it's the subject of this portrait that makes this piece so iconic. Queen Elizabeth II is renowned around the world, and Warhol was fascinated with celebrity. So, of course, he wanted to produce a portrait of the Queen. When Warhol decided to produce this portrait, he got his European art dealer at the time to write a letter to the Queen's secretary, basically stating their wishes to produce the portrait. While the Queen did address the letter, the response was quite muted. She basically says she doesn't wish to put any obstacles in Mr. Warhol's way, but she would not dream of offering a comment on this idea. So once the screen print was finalized, images were sent to the Queen for her review, and she was actually quite pleased, and her second letter was very positive. It was in her Diamond Jubilee year in 2012 when the Royal Collection actually acquired the deluxe or royal edition of the 4 prints of the Queen. And it is interesting because they are actually the only pieces in the Royal Collection that the Queen did not sit for or commission. So our edition is part of that Royal Edition, which is only an edition of 30, and what makes it special is it has the diamond dust included in the outlines and the red. Really gave it that tasteful sparkle. I also think that our colorway with that royal blue stands out from the other colorways. So I'm really excited to see Warhol's Queen Elizabeth on the auction block at Heffel on November 24th. I think we're going to have an exciting night.